Hello everybody. 8 months ago, I released a video called Nintendo is Not the New EA, which was a response to a video that, you won't believe it, was titled Nintendo is the New EA. Since that video, a lot of new stuff has happened. I've been receiving a lot more information, and I think it's time we revisit this old video. This is Nintendo is Not the New EA Remade.
EA has become a hated name in the gaming community. From greedy anti-consumer practices to claims of them rushing games out and ruining them. EA has done many things to anger us gamers, and now it always seems whenever there's a new project with EA's name on it, is met with a lot of skepticism, and maybe rightfully so. But I've noticed another company partaking in a lot of these greedy practices without really receiving any sort of backlash like EA does, and it's Nintendo.
This is one of the many problems with this video, and arguably the biggest. For some reason, he seems to think that nobody was criticizing Nintendo up until then, which is false! Even before this video, long before this video was released, people criticized Nintendo. I remember back when maybe 2015, where Nintendo received criticism for shutting down Pokemon fan games and a Metroid fan game. They got a lot of hate for that. So to say Nintendo didn't receive any hate until recently is completely idiotic. And also, this did not age well, since hating Nintendo is basically a trend now.
One of the huge things that people hated about EA was microtransactions. While Nintendo may not do this as blatantly as gambling with loot boxes, they do still have competitive games where they force you to pay if you want all the DLC characters. In other words, players can pay to unlock characters which may be better. The microtransactions aren't just cosmetics, and I think this would have a lot of people upset if this were an EA game.
Like I said in my last video, this is not a ripoff. You don't have to pay for these characters if you want to just enjoy the game. You even say in your own video that it's not as bad as what EA does. EA's DLC not only is basically gambling, but you basically need it in order to get the full game. However, with, for example, the Smash DLC fighters, you can still play it with or without the DLC characters and still have fun with the game. I should know, I've done both. And as a friend of mine who in a comment section of my last video pointed out, people were demanding DLC back in the day. I forgot they did that until he mentioned it. But yes, back when Smash 4, when they started doing DLC, they demanded DLC for these games. That was one of the things people wanted. And now you're saying it's a ripoff. Now here's the interesting part of the video. Here's where I debunk my own video. Isn't that something? Yes, I'm not just here to rag on this guy twice, I'm actually going to rag on myself a little bit. When he talks about Animal Crossing and how you need one island per Switch, I defended this by saying this is how the Animal Crossing series has always been, and that you can still share the same island. However, I now realize that that doesn't really fix the problem, and I can now understand where he's coming from. I'm not really a big Animal Crossing fan, so I can't really speak for this. However, you can still share the island with another player. And you know, people gotta share!
EA gets flack for releasing similar games all the time, but Nintendo kinda does this too.
I absolutely hate when people complain about games being similar when they're in the same series. And yes, this applies to EA too. This isn't just something that applies to Nintendo. And there is something you forgot about. The thing that makes each Nintendo game in a series different is they always have this new gimmick added to them. In the specific example you showed, Pokemon, there are a bunch of Pokemon that are added in that region, and you have an entire new area to explore. As well as there's different gimmicks, like for example in Sword and Shield, you can grow giant. So no, these are not really the same game. And you know something else? There is a Nintendo series where eventually they ended up changing the gameplay for every single game. You know what happened to that series? It ended up becoming terrible. Paper Mario.
It just seems like Nintendo gets away with so much that a different company like EA would not be able to without Backlash.
Yes, I
Nope.
am.
Wrong.
I know we already said this, but this claim is ridiculously stupid. And it didn't even age well at all, because around the time this video was released, hate for Nintendo skyrocketed to an almost annoying point. And that is why people like me have to defend the company, because people are hating on them too much. It's even gotten to the point where some people are using the death of the former Nintendo president as an excuse to hate on Nintendo, which is disgusting.
Super Mario 3D All-Stars feels like such a lazy cash grab. To start, it's only out for a limited time, which I assume is so that people can't wait for the game to go on sale before they purchase.
When we thought this was going to be a limited release, I would have agreed with this point, hence why I didn't put it in the original video. I absolutely hated the limited release thing. However, it turns out this didn't age well. Even though it was a limited release, you can still buy the game. What I thought would happen is that as soon as the game went off shelves, then it would have skyrocketed in price. But turns out I was wrong. That didn't happen. In fact, it might as well just not have been limited release, because I've been seeing a lot of these in stores. But what are his complaints for 3D All-Stars, other than limited release, which did not age well? It turns out they're all nitpicks. The games still work. They function just as good, if not better, than their original counterparts. All of his complaints are just nitpicks that don't really matter. And he's saying that as a ripoff? In the future, we would get a game called Sonic Colors Ultimate, which would prove that 3D All-Stars really isn't that lazy of a cash grab. At least those games work, because, oh wow, Colors Ultimate still gives me nightmares. Oh my goodness, Sonic, what have they done to you? Ah! So yeah, that was the video, again. And it was just as bad as the last time I watched it, if not more so. Look, Nintendo is not a perfect company. They've done stupid stuff in the past and now. I am one of their biggest critics with the new situation with the Switch Online. However, you don't need to go look and nitpick every single little thing Nintendo does and try to find stuff to hate them on, because that isn't going to work. And it's just stupid. They still make really good games. They still care about their fans. Way more than Sega does, actually. But that's another video for another time. Right, see you guys later. Bye.